Welcome, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody in between. Jake's got a sports show, and you are tuning into that sports show. Got a pretty lengthy show to get through today. We're going to cover some thoughts on Monday Night Football. We're going to cover some basketball, some World Series, and then obviously the NFL trade line was today. That's why this episode's coming out a little later than I want it. I usually like to put it out around like 1, 2 o'clock, but I knew the trade deadline was today, so we held it off until the trade deadline was over, and now it's over. Some moves happened, and we're going to talk about it. A little bit of house cleaning before we get into it. I still cannot really decide on where to put the house cleaning officially. Oh, before I really move on, I am using the snowball again. I think I'm going to use it until I can afford a pretty nice microphone just because it's easier to hold. As you can see, like I hold it like that, and with my other microphone, I have to hold it like this. Audio listeners, you won't, see it, but I love you. But I have to hold it like this, and it's kind of uncomfortable, and the mic moves around a little bit, and I have to tighten and retighten it. And with the snowball, I just have to hold it like this. It's almost like it was made to be handheld. So I think I'm just gonna rock with the snowball until I get some feedback saying, "Hey, the snowball sounds like shit. Can you do something?" Then I'll move on from it. But yeah. So house cleaning. Email me questions coming. Email me questions, comments, concerns. OldJackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. That is OLE JackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. Rate the show and share the show. Really important. If you don't want to do anything else for me, if you don't want to interact with me, whatever, rate and share the show. It really helps out a lot. Follow me on Twitter at JJester615. Follow the pod on Twitter at Jackie's Show. And follow me on TikTok for my daily reactions to what's going on in the sports world. Jackie Boy Sports over there. That's about it. Also, I might be a little today because video listeners, you can see I'm wearing glasses. I believe I've worn glasses on the pod before, but they were blue light glasses. These are actual prescription glasses. It's a whole situation that I won't get into, but I've never worn prescription glasses before, and this is my first day wearing these. And I feel pretty, I got a headache and I feel pretty dizzy. So I might be a little more everywhere than usual, and I do apologize for that. But how do I look, by the way? Video, comment, tweet at me. How do I look with the glasses? Let's get right into the show. Starting off, the Lions beat the Raiders 26-14. A couple storylines to get into. Let's go with the Lions first. Jahmyr Gibbs, 26 carries, 152 yards, 5.8 yards a carry, and a touchdown, as well as 5 catches for 37 yards. Have a day, young man. And we were worried about Jahmyr Gibbs because the Lions were coming out and saying, yeah, we drafted him at what, pick 11, pick 12? Yeah, we drafted him then, but he's just going to be a little Darren Sproles kind of running back, little gadget player. We'll throw him in passing situations and we'll let him run the ball a couple times. And Lions fans and everybody around the league were like, huh? What? You spent that high of a draft pick for a guy that's just going to be your Darren Sproles? Darren Sproles is a great player. Don't get me wrong. But if you draft a running back in the top 15, he better turn out like Barry Sanders. He better be Derrick Henry. He better be someone like that. But breakout game. And honestly, David Montgomery has been doing well up there. Been doing very well for the Lions. Jahmyr Gibbs just showed he can be a lot better. He can be a lot better. And it was the Raiders' defense. And the Raiders' defense is not completely terrible, right? Jahmyr Gibbs, very good breakout day. And I got to say, this Rookie of the Year race on the offensive side of the ball is really going to heat up. So if you have Jahmyr Gibbs, who might take the majority of snaps the rest of the season, then you got Bijan, who's doing his thing down in Atlanta. You got C.J. Stroud, who's killing it in Houston. And then if Will Levis starts the rest of the season and puts up numbers like he did against the Falcons, you got Will Levis. This is going to be a very fun. Jordan Addison, who is doing very, very well in Minnesota, of course, has Josh Dobbs as a quarterback now. We'll get into that later. But, that rookie of the year race is about to be very, very fun to keep up with. Now, on the Raiders side of things, the defense played well, right? The defense got 3 turnovers, an interception, and 2 fumbles, and the Lions missed a field goal. And when you're the Raiders offense, you got to look at yourself and say, we got the ball 3 extra times, 4 really, because of the missed field goal, and we still lost by 2 possessions. What's going on? I'll tell you what's going on. Josh Jacobs was your leading receiver. That can't happen. I love Josh Jacobs, but that cannot happen. Davante Adams had 1 catch. 1 catch. 0 in the first half. What are we doing? You say Jimmy Garoppolo is coming off an injury. Absolutely. But why is he not looking at Davante Adams? Why is he not looking at Jacoby Myers? Why is he finding Josh Jacobs? Their leading receiver is Hunter Renfrow with 2 catches. 2 catches. Or the leading receivers in terms of the receiving core was Hunter Renfrow. 2 catches. What are we talking about? Now, Jimmy G was sacked 6 times, right? And Josh McDaniels is just awful. Raiders fans officially, I have a Raiders mutual, Return of the Lion something. I wish I'd memorized his TikTok name. Huge Raiders fan. I was talking to him last year, and he was like, man, I still believe in Josh McDaniels. Got to clean up a few things, but it's his first year, whatever. And the past couple of weeks, he's been, oh, yeah, no, get rid of him. He's gone. He needs to be gone. Josh McDaniels is just not a head coach. He's an offensive coordinator, a pure offensive coordinator. He's not Kyle Shanahan. He's just not. He's not Sean McVay. He's just not. The Raiders' offense is bad. It's talent. It's not even talentless. Josh Jacobs is a very talented running back. Davante Adams has been one of the best receivers in the league for the past, or the better part of a decade. Jacoby Myers is a very good receiver. Michael Mayer, the tight end they drafted, very good tight end prospect. This offense has talent. There's no reason it should be performing like this. Of course, the O-line is a bit shaky, but that's it. There's no reason it should be performing like this. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say. Good win for the Lions. The Raiders looked awful, and here's to drafting Drake May this coming draft. Now let's talk about the World Series. World Series Game 3 was last night, and I really don't know what to make of it as my doorbell rings. Rangers win 3-1, right? I have a wife and roommates. They'll probably go get it. Dogs are gonna bark though. Rangers win 3-1, and it was honestly, it was the most boring game this series by far. The Rangers scored 3 runs in, I believe, the 3rd or 4th inning, and then the Arizona Diamondbacks defense just tightened up, right? But the Diamondbacks could not do anything. Their bats could not do a single thing the entire game. And then the 8th inning, they started making a little noise, right? Got some guys on base, I believe got as far as 3rd, and then hit a double play. That got as far. They scored a run. Amen. They scored a run on a pitcher who almost sold the game for, I believe his name is Chapman, almost sold the game for the Rangers, started pitching awful, and the Diamondbacks were making a little noise and then double play to get out of the inning for the Rangers, and it just didn't work. 3 up, 3 down in the 9th inning. Now, I do got to say, Gabriel Moreno went up to the plate, and I believe the second pitch was tight in the bottom right corner of the strike zone, and real tight to the corner, and the umpire called it a ball when it was a strike. It was a strike, right? Later in the bat, or later in the bat, or whatever, it was a 3-1 count, and pitch went far outside to the right. and the umpire called it a strike. And here's my thing. Or, yeah, the umpire called it a strike. It should have been a ball. Gabriel Moreno should be on first base right there, right? Here's my thing. Obviously, the umpire did that because he wanted to even out his mistake earlier. But you can't do that. You can't do that in that situation. If it was a random ball and, instead of like ball 3, it's strike 2, sure, right? But when it's the pitch that gets that dude on first base, you can't reverse that call. You just can't. Or you cannot call that a strike when it's so obviously a ball. I get why he did it. Absolutely, but not in that situation. And I know I got on people for um talking about how referees just don't call certain things a certain way in this situation, whether they broke the rule or not, because it's situationally the referees can interfere with the game, the umpires can't interfere. That's horseshit. But when it's this obvious, you just have to yeah, I made a mistake. That's my fault. Keep it moving. That's just you can't call a strike right there because as the commentator said, and I know I'm rambling on, as the commentator said, Gabriel Moreno immediately was just like, all right, switched his mind from batting to base running. That's what he did. And all of a sudden, he has to quickly make that switch back when he should be on first base, and he struck out. And like I said, 3 up, 3 down. So, bad call by the umpire, bad mistake. But that doesn't change the fact that the Diamondbacks did absolutely nothing with the other 2 bats that were there and the rest of the game outside the 8th inning. I think they win tonight. I think the Diamondbacks win tonight. Of course, the Rangers are undefeated on the road, so it's going to be very, very tough. But I think the Diamondbacks win tonight, and I think they still win in 6 games. So let's talk some basketball. Of course, we get the big trade, but I want to talk about some games. Well, 2 games that happened that I tried to keep up with yesterday. One of them, the Grizzlies and the Mavericks. The Mavericks beating the Grizzlies 125 to 110. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not watching Grizzlies games anymore. I'm just not. Now, you might react to that saying, oh, Jack, that's because they're 0-4 and you don't want to be a fan of a bad team. That's not it at all, right? I'm disappointed, right? I think they should at least be 2-2. At least if they want to be serious contenders in the West. I know it's early in the season and there's so many games, but you need a good start, and the Grizzlies just aren't getting it. But I'm not watching Grizzlies games because I tuned in. I believe we were down by like 2 to 4 points. I tuned in and we could not hit a shot, and we go down by 15. And I'm like, game's over. I'm not going to waste my time. So I turn the game off and I'm doing something else. I think I'm putting this show together. And all of a sudden I see on my phone the Grizzlies Twitter account tweeting eyeballs. And I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. Turn the game back on. It's 108 to 110. I'm like, oh shit, let's go. And then the Grizzlies can't hit a shot. Cannot hit a shot to save their life, and they end up losing 125, 110. So obviously, sports fans are superstitious. I am not immune to that. I'm not watching Grizzlies games. I'm just not, because apparently when I watch, we suck. And when I don't watch, we still kind of suck, but we suck somewhat less. And obviously, you cannot beat the Mavericks when they are shooting 50% from the field and almost 50 from 3. The Mavericks had a day on offense. Not real high scoring. Of course, 125 points. Nothing to scoff at, but nothing like crazy. But man, were they efficient. Oh my God, were they efficient. And unless you're an amazingly talented offensive team, which the Grizzlies aren't without Ja Morant. Desmond Bane can do a couple things. Triple J can have his day every now and then. But outside of that, it's just a whole lot of Tyus Jones isn't there anymore. D'Anthony Melton used to be able to do that for us. And we don't really have a guy that will completely take over the game outside of Desmond Bane or Ja Morant. And like I said, Triple J can do it every now and then. But when the Mavs are shooting 50% from 3 and from the regular field, you need something, and the Grizzlies don't have it. Now, the other game I really tried to keep up with, and the game I watched the most, was the Lakers Magic, with the Lakers beating the Magic 106 to 103. I was keeping up with this because I told y'all that the Magic are a very slept on team in the East. I think that they're going to be very good. Um, Obviously, they're starting off 2-1. They just lost to the Lakers. I still think they're going to be very, very good though. The two players I want to point out, not title. Let's get this straight. Let's get my delusions in order. I'm not saying the Magic are going to come out and beat the Bucks and go to the NBA Finals. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is second round. Second round for the Magic? I don't think people are like giving enough credit to that. I think the Magic are a good enough team to make at least the second round. At least the second round. But the two players I want to point out in this, D'Angelo Russell, have a day. 28, 8 and 2. That's 28 points, 8 assists, 2 rebounds on 10 for 14 with 12 points in the fourth. 10 for 14. Have a day. And hit very, very clutch free throws. D'Angelo Russell. It feels good to see him have a good day. I've always been a D'Angelo Russell fan ever since the Nets, right? Of course, a lot of people like to say that. I became fans of D'Angelo Russell when he was on the Nets, but he was so fun to watch when he was on the Nets. He was so fun to watch when he was on the Nets. So it's cool to see him have a day, especially with all that crap he was getting after his playoff performance. Deserved. He didn't play that great in the playoffs, but it's good to see that. And also, Mr. Christian Wood. 9 points, 3 assists, 9 rebounds, and 3 blocks. Not some world beating, superstar game, but a very, very solid game from Christian Wood. Love to see it. Him and Anthony Davis in the paint are going to be almost impossible to get through, which is very, very good for the Lakers. And I believe the Lakers, was this their first win? I'd have to double check that. I don't think the Lakers make the playoffs, but that's completely irrelevant to this conversation. Have a day, D'Angelo Russell and Christian Wood. You love to see those two guys succeeding. So, we started the show off with football. Let's end the show with football from what happened in or before the trade deadline today and some trades that happened yesterday. So first, I want to talk about the Bills. The Bills take. Okay. I got a little notification. Computer made a weird noise, and I was concerned. The Bills made 2 moves. One before the trade deadline today, and a free agent signing. The move they made today was they got Rasul Douglas from the Packers. Rasul Douglas and a 5th-round pick from the Packers for a 3rd-rounder. Obviously, Tre'Davious White is injured. They really need help on that defense, especially in terms of their DBs. I think it's a very, very, very solid pickup. Rasul Douglas is a very good player. The Packers are going to miss him, but the Packers are usually decent in the middle rounds of the draft. For a 3rd-round pick, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay value. Rasul Douglas at a 5th for a 3rd. I'll take that. I'll take that every day of the week. And I don't think there was a real loser from this. Like I said, the Packers are good in the mid rounds of the draft, especially on day 2. And a 5th rounder and a Rasul Douglas. Fine, whatever. Yes. The second move they made. Don't move your tongue like that, Jack. The second move they made, or I guess technically the first, was yesterday they signed Leonard Fournette from free agency. And I'm going to be honest, I completely forgot Leonard Fournette was in free agency. I completely forgot. I was, I saw Leonard Fournette to the Bills and I was looking at, okay, what they have to give up. They didn't have to give up anything. He was just sitting there without a job, like Kareem Hunt was. He was just sitting there. And they made this move because Damian Harris is now on IR, which sucks. But you got a good running back who's going to show up in the playoffs, especially, and you really, really need that. Of course, James Cook is still going to be the guy who gets most of the carries. I don't think anyone's going to dispute that. I hope so, because James Cook didn't do anything last season, but he is turning into a very, very solid back this season. So I hope that he still gets the majority of the carries and Leonard Fournette just comes in, which both very powerful runners. That is going to wear out defenses. Of course, Leonard Fournette is nothing like he used to be. I wouldn't say nothing. He's just not what he used to be, but he's still a very, very solid piece, assuming that he has stayed in football shape for the past couple months. And I found out, and this was hilarious to me, one of the reasons that Leonard Fournette went to the free agency was because he just, when Tom Brady retired, he went to the Buccaneers front office and he was like, yeah, I'm out. No, I'm not going through a rebuild. I see what you guys are doing. Tommy's gone. Same with me. Bye. See ya. And I find that hilarious. So let's talk about Minnesota. Minnesota made 2 moves. Well, I guess they made a move and they got a move made on them. Kirk Cousins went down with season-ending injury, which, sucks. And they're replacing him with Joshua Dobbs, who they got from the Cardinals, for a 6th-round pick, and they also received a 7th-round pick. This just shows me the Vikings aren't really confident in their team this year, because they could have traded for Jacoby Brissett. They could have gotten maybe Andy Dalton, who are both better than Josh Dobbs. They could have gotten Ryan Tannehill, who's better than Josh Dobbs. They could have gotten a lot of guys. Well, I don't know if they could have gotten Ryan Tannehill. The Titans really like Ryan Tannehill. But there's a couple guys on the market that they could have really made a push for, and they decided to go with Joshua Dobbs. I like Josh Dobbs, right? Tennessee alumni. Always rooting for the guy to succeed. But it feels like the Vikings are just like, yeah, without Kirk, we're pretty much in the dirt, so might as well, right? And that especially rings true when I believe just after this, or maybe just before, they traded their guard, Ezra Cleveland, to the Jaguars for a 6th-round pick. Ezra Cleveland is a very good guard. Not like top 5, but top 10. Ezra Cleveland is a very good guard that you let go for a 6th-round pick. Now, people are saying, oh, maybe, contract, whatever. They didn't see anything coming by the end of the season, so whatever. Which, sure, but a 6th-round pick. The Vikings got fleeced, dude. Fleeced. And, of course, now the Jaguars have the Jaguars are building a pretty good offensive line. They got Brandon Sheriff from the Commanders this past offseason. Now they got Ezra Cleveland. That is 2 top 10 guards in the league on the Jaguars. Of course, their tackles are a little suspect. Their center is fine. But, you know, I feel bad for the Vikings. And I feel bad for myself because I said, oh, yeah, no, the Lions could win in the division, but the Vikings are still there. And the Vikings are like, no, we're not, Jack. We're not still there. We're dead. We're gone. Now, for the Cardinals, I find this hilarious. The Cardinals looked at Josh Dobbs and was like, hey, you're giving us too much of a chance to win. We're trying to get a high draft pick. And yeah, you're losing. You're losing. We get it. But we're trying to lose even more. And you're giving us a lot of chances to win. And we just can't have that. So enjoy Minnesota. Now, some other moves that were made. The Commanders are completely dismantling their their defensive line, except they kept Jonathan Allen. Ooh, I hope I said that right. I know they got De'Aaron Payne. Let me fact check that real quick. Let me fact check that they do indeed have Jonathan Allen. I can never spell Jonathan right. Yeah, Jonathan Allen. They still have Jonathan Allen and De'Aaron Payne. So they still got a good interior. But they traded Montez Sweat to the Chicago Bears for a 2nd-rounder. The Bears getting a much needed help on their defensive line. Montez Sweat is a very, very solid piece. I think it was well worth a 2nd-round pick for Montez Sweat. And then they traded Chase Young to the 49ers for a 3rd-round pick. Why? Why the 49ers? Why did you do that? Now, I get, injury problems, right? Chase Young for a 3rd-round pick is ridiculous. Like I said, I get he has injury problems. But if he's not injured, he's one of the best edge rushers in the league. One of the most talented edge rushers in the league. This guy can be phenomenal. And you trade him to play across from Nick Bosa, who's, oh my God, oh my God, dude, why? Why did you do that? Now, I don't get it from the 49ers standpoint either. The 49ers have a phenomenal defensive line. Phenomenal defensive line already. And they need a corner. They need a corner. They have fine corners, but in like their linebackers are great. Their front seven is just great. Their safeties are good. They need a corner. I don't understand why you wouldn't use that third round pick for a corner and not an edge or yeah, I don't understand why you wouldn't use that third round pick for a corner. And instead you wouldn't got a pass rusher. Of course, getting to the quarterback is going to affect the pass. I get it. But when your defensive line is already that strong, trading for another defensive lineman when you could just bolster some other needs, it doesn't make sense. And maybe I'm just talking because I hate the fact that the 49ers have probably the most loaded defensive line in the league now. And they already had a top 3 defensive line in the league. That's just aggravating. Dude, it makes me hate the Commanders even more. It really, really does. And RIP the Commanders' defensive line. That defense was already not as good as everybody thought it was going to be. And now they lost probably 2 of their top 3 best defensive players. RIP the Commanders' defense in general. Talking about defensive line, Leonard Williams traded to the Seahawks. Of course, this fills a very, very big need, probably the biggest need on the Seattle Seahawks. They got a lot of crap for not drafting Jalen Carter, instead deciding to draft Devin Witherspoon. The Giants are receiving a 2024. I put 32 second round pick. I believe it's a third round pick and a 2025 fifth round pick. Leonard Williams is older. He's 29 years old. Maybe his best days are behind him, but he is having a very, very good season. He is still a very, very solid player. And I just realized I forgot to talk about the James Harden trade. We'll get back to that in a second. He's still a very good player and fills a very big need on that Seattle defense. And it's going to make the Seattle defense better, which is awesome. Good all around. And the Giants are obviously just selling. They need draft capital because they realize they're not that good. So we'll see what the Giants do. But yeah, this is a very, very good trade for Seattle. I would think the Giants would want more, but they got draft capital. Good all around. And the last trade that happened, not really that interesting. Donovan Peoples-Jones to Detroit for a 6th round pick, which is phenomenal value. DPJ is one of the most underrated receivers in football. He's from Cleveland, if you don't know. He played across Amari Cooper. He's very, very underrated. And just getting another weapon for the Detroit offense. Of course, I would have liked them to use that draft capital to get some defense. Maybe a corner. Of course, Brian Branch is getting a lot of hype right now. Deserved. But yeah, they get a new weapon. I'm not all that excited. So like I said, really, you had Josh Reynolds. You had Amon St. Brown. You have Sam Laporta, who's playing good. Jahmyr Gibbs just had a breakout game. And I believe you have Jameson Williams, who has some off-field issues, but you have Jameson Williams. I just feel like this could have been used for a defensive player, and they didn't do it. Maybe they wanted Chase Young or Montez Sweat, and they ended up not getting him, so they just went with DPJ. I don't know, but that's my thoughts on it. The last thought I really have is Jalen Johnson wanted out of Chicago, the corner in Chicago, probably their best defensive player before they got Montez Sweat. And the Bears were about ready to put Ryan Poles on a pole if Jalen Johnson got let go, but he didn't. So Ryan Poles is staying off that pole for a little bit. But I think that's only to the end of the season because Jalen Johnson has made it pretty clear he's not signing another contract with the Browns. With the Bears, so he's going to become a free agent in the offseason. Good for him. The Bears are losing out on a very, very good young corner. And I forgot to talk about James Harden to the Clippers, so we're going to talk about that right now. The 76ers traded James Harden to the Los Angeles Clippers for exactly the kind of thing that Daryl Money, whatever. I don't know if I'm thinking of Darnell Mooney. They have similar names, but the Clippers received James Harden, PJ Tucker, and Philip Petrusev. And the 76ers received Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, who I thought was Pat Covington, or Pat Connaughton. Look, I confused it again. KJ Martin, multiple draft picks, and a pick swap. And if y'all remember when this trade talk was getting real hot, old Daryl Money said that if he cannot get good players and or good picks that he can turn into good players, he's not doing the trade. And the Clippers are going all in because the Clippers have been going all in since 2020. They really, really want a ring. And now they have a starting lineup that resembles an all-star team from 2015. They got their guards are Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Their forwards are Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. And I believe Zubac is their starting center. That's their starting five. It sounds like outside of Zubac's a good player, but outside of Zubac, that's like an NBA All-Star team from 2015, right? Now, the issue is that was 8 years ago. 2015 was 8 years ago. Did I do that math right? I did. That sucks. Also good. Big brain over here. But James Harden got his wish. He wanted to go to the Clippers, see if he can win a ring, in which they're not going to win a ring because, Kawhi and Paul George are going to get hurt again, and it's just going to be I believe, the 2018 Rockets, where it's just going to be James Harden and Russell Westbrook and a whole bunch of guys. Of course, you got Terrence Mann. But, I would say, oh, you have Marcus Morris? No. You have Robert Covington? No. Like, there's a lot of depth. And I don't think James Harden is worth it. I'm going to stay on this train. James Harden is not worth Marcus Morris, Nick Batum, Robert Covington, KJ Martin, multiple draft picks, and pick swap. He's just not. Is he going to average a double-double? Probably. Right? Good for him. He's going to average a double-double. Over 20 points and 10 assists. Couple rebounds. Good for him. Then he's going to disappear in the playoffs. And then Paul George and Kawhi are probably going to miss a lot of time. Again, because it's Paul George and it's Kawhi Leonard. So why? Why do the Clippers do this? Why are the Clippers so obsessed with being such a mediocre, thirsty team? If you were mediocre and you were fine with mediocre, that would suck. But when you're mediocre and you pull stuff like this, when you're just not getting better, this does not make the Clippers better. And maybe this goes down as one of the worst takes I will ever have in my career, but I guarantee you, this does not move the needle for the Los Angeles Clippers. It's my boys over at Thick Man Inc. They tweeted out a very good picture for this, and it's when the Nets got like Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, and I don't think they got KG, but they made a big three that they were like, oh, we got a big three. Yeah, they're all 35 years old. They're all way past their prime. It's over for them. This reeks of that kind of energy. The Clippers are like, oh my God, look at our starting five. It's an all-star team. Yeah, an all-star team from 10 years ago. It's just, the Clippers are obsessed with being so thirsty, yet so mediocre because they don't know how to quench that thirst properly. Golly, dude. I might just be a James Harden hater, in which my favorite player is Giannis Antetokounmpo. Hot take. My favorite player is Giannis Antetokounmpo, and he shit-talked Giannis a while ago. that it may just be hate stemming from that. It may just be hate that I think he's been overrated the past couple seasons. Maybe. But if you look at this and you're like, oh, yeah, no, 2023 James Harden is worth everything the Clippers gave up, you're just a delusional James Harden fan. You just are. James Harden is not worth that. Oh, God. Well, that's the show. Hope you enjoyed. A little bit longer of a show. Like I said, we had a lot to go over, but very, very happy with it. Ending with a little rant. But house cleaning, email me questions, comments, concerns, anything you want. OldJackieBoy1021 at gmail.com. Follow me on Twitter at JJester615. Follow the show's Twitter at Jackie Show. That's 2 S's. Watch on YouTube, same name as the podcast. You know how to find it. And follow me on TikTok, daily sports content every single day. That is what daily means. Even on weekends, unlike the podcast, in which I don't do weekends. And that's pretty much it. Like, share, and rate the show. Please, please rate and share the show. It really, really helps out a whole lot with the algorithm. Thank you so much, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Love ya.